So, good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing this evening or this afternoon? We have got an absolutely packed weekly update for you today. As the title says, exploding fuses. What happens when your main fuse explodes in your house? We've got some NLV updates. We've had some last minute visas drop in today. I haven't even counted them up yet. So far, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. 11, I think it is, visas to talk to you about. The renewals coming out, some DNV news. We don't normally share a lot of DNV news. We've got some coming for you. Some great photos and information in our out and about in Spain. We've got a bit about the FERIA, the Málaga. Anyway, just keep on watching. We've got lots and lots going on today. This is our weekly update number 80. Right, so when I jumped online, it was a little bit glitchy today. It kicked me out once already. So if there's any problems, just put it in the chat and let me know. And how are we all doing? It is now the last 2 weeks of August. And we all know last 2 weeks of August is a bit of a crazy time, and everything tends to slow down at the end of August. I'm having these last couple, having the last couple of weeks off of work, and but obviously things haven't slowed down when it comes to the London consulate. Incredible. Now, London consulate by far is the best consulate at the moment for some, in terms of checking the visas out. It is doing very, very well. Manchester, sadly, at the moment, we've now got, I think it's 3 or 4 people who have just hit the 12-week mark and are still waiting for those visas. So at that point, what we do is we give the consulate a gentle nudge with an email and actually a registered post letter to their address with proof of any plans that people have got to say, look, guys, please, can you hurry up with the visa? Last year, this was quite common. This year, we haven't seen it as much. But again, as we say, normally the last couple of weeks of August is like that. But certainly not with London, which I'm going to explain in a minute. So let's just go to the chat and see who's on. First of all, we've got 17 people watching. So we've got Robo, how you doing? Buenas tardes, Robo. How you doing? We've got some great photos from you coming up. Thanks for sending those across. But what I didn't know is if the photos were from the morning, sunrise or sunset. I believe it's sunrise because I did a short this week, and when it reminded me of your photos that you sent me across. So let us know if it was at sunrise. And we've got here, get me to Spain. Buenas tardes, Neil and Sue. How you doing, guys? It's hoy estado muy caliente, 42 degree. You have to be careful when you use 42 degrees, the word caliente. Don't say yo estoy caliente, because it could have a double meaning in Spanish. You have to be careful when you use the word caliente, you know. Alexander, how you doing? Scotland Spanish flag. Yeah, all good here. It's not that warm here, to be honest. We've had quite a mild week. Congratulations, guys. Steve Moody, Olaf, Stephen Pauline received our visa packs this morning. Thanks. Woohoo. That's fantastic. Well done. I think I've got you on our list here as well. Well done. Your congratulations. And hey, Stu and Joe, how you doing? That's long term. They've been supporting the weekly updates since number 1 and giving me encouragement. And it really does help, you know. I think it's since weekly update number 1, 80 weeks ago, it's changed a little bit. But thanks, guys, for your support. Yeah, enjoying the break. Unfortunately, this week hasn't been as much of the break as I thought it was going to be. But it's definitely next week. I'm definitely going on full break next week. But yeah, it's been exciting because we've been getting a lot of visas in. Alan, how you doing? Hi. Who else we got in the house? Jen, buenas tardes, feeling cool and 26 degrees, thank God, up in North Almeria. Yeah, it's only about 29 here today, 29, not too bad at all. And Neil, yeah, visas again. It's great. It's been a great day today. I decided I had to come into work today, but it's been fun. It was sunset. Okay, I thought it was sunrise. I'm going to show those photos later on. And good luck to everyone waiting for visas. Yeah, Manchester crew still waiting a lot, but the London people, it's been a fantastic week. You might need to tell us why we need to be careful using caliente, as may explain the funny looks. Well, caliente could mean that you feeling attracted to the to someone if you used it in the wrong tense. Maybe I need to turn a show. Maybe that's into a show. I'm trying to think how to put it on YouTube correctly. Julie Palmer, hola Chris, you are well, still patiently waiting, almost 10 weeks now yet. Check the BLS Manchester for progress on inadvertent processing admission, whatever that means. Julie and Graham Palmer. Basically, that means that it's still in process. I believe, okay, because they don't actually give us a set format for this, but they say processing admission means that admission would be Spain. So what happens is when they collect all the details for your visa, it goes through the consulate. They do the due diligence of the financials, the criminal records and everything else. And then they send the request to Spain for everything else, because when your details go off to Spain, in Spain, they check that you've got no criminal records in Spain, that you can be allowed actually into the country. And that is processing admission. The only thing is processing admission actually tends to happen quite quickly. And I think what happens is they send the approvals back to Manchester consulate or the consulate, and the consulate work through the approvals quite slowly. That's where I think the delay is there. I might be wrong. We don't know their internal systems, but looking at how other consulate works, that's how it seems to be with them. I did use Apple Translate app. We're going to get into trouble with that app, I can tell you. Oops, we just thought it meant hot. I might have to get a native Spanish speaker on, shouldn't I, before I make a mistake myself. But I know I have done in the past, and you have to be careful of the word caliente, depending on how you use it. Anyway, moving on. Now, we are caliente. We're caliente for visas. So here's our visa list. We have got this week out Edinburgh to Almeria, 11 weeks. London to Murcia was 29th to the 7th to the 19th to the 8th. So let's call that 3 weeks. That can't be right. 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks. London. Almeria, 22nd of the 7th to the 18th of the 8th. That's 4 weeks, or less than 4 weeks. London, Murcia, 30th of July until the 21st. 5 weeks. No, less, 3 weeks. Yeah, just flying out of London at the moment, flying out. Edinburgh to Alicante, a bit longer. That was a end of June to the 21st of August. That was a 8-week turnaround. Just in 4 minutes before I came live. Manchester to Almeria, 11-week visa, and that was with a requirement letter. As I say, we have got some which have reached the 12-week mark already. So that is London is plowing ahead with 4-week visas, 3 or 4 week visas. Edinburgh, we've got 11-week. Manchester have been around the 10 to 12 mark. Had an 11-week one out, and we've got a couple which have already hit 14. Also, we've got 2 renewals through Alicante post 20th of May. If you remember, 20th of May, we actually had a law change. So all of this is quite new. The stuff that's coming out now, we're still learning the new things that they're asking for. But the renewals which were approved from Alicante, they're with funds in Spain, so in a Spanish bank, but they were actually submitted way back in June, right on the expiry date, and they've only come out now. So they're around 9-10 weeks ago we submitted them, which still isn't too bad because they have up to 3 months to approved. And that's it for the visas. Let's go back to the chat. I think everybody's on the chat here. I thought it meant hot. Well, it does mean hot in every sense of the word sometimes. Chris, if I have buy me a coffee on your YouTube channel, is this against NLV rules? Well, that's a good no. I don't think that's against NLV rules, because that's a good question, Robert. That's a good question. So if you put buy me a coffee, so if you are enjoying this content, let's put it up here. A minute, where is my buy me a coffee? I suppose I could find it first. There we go. So if you want to buy me a coffee, for example, buy me a coffee is it's a donation platform, basically. So, and it's wrapped up in buy me a coffee. So they take a coffee, costs €5. If you got that QR code and you like my content, here we go, then you can buy me a coffee. Evidently, when you get that, once they've taken their share, It gets put through Stripe into your bank account, and then you can use it for what you like. You don't actually have to spend it on coffee. And I can be honest with you, with the donations that we've had to this channel, very rarely does it get spent on coffee. It either gets spent on McDonald's, or maybe not for me, not for Ash. I'll have the chicken wings. Jane is partial to a McDonald's, and if not, then we'll definitely probably more spend it on a beer and a tapper. So, but there isn't a buy me a beer and a tapper platform. Maybe we should invent that. But would it be against NLV rules? Well, you're effectively taking a donation on content that you've made, but you're not working. This is a great question. But can I have a YouTube channel and actually be on a NLV? Well, my interpretation is you can, as long as your YouTube channel isn't related to work, like hours, for example. So if you are doing a YouTube channel, which is a hobby based, and people appreciate your hobby and people donate to you, I couldn't see it being a problem. Now, what would be a problem maybe if your donations started to get to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 euros a month, then the tax office might say, well, hang on a minute, are you actually doing a job? Or what are you if you're earning more than a minimum wage, for example, the tax office might look at you and go, I don't know how to declare that. But if it was like 30, 40 euros a month, for example, I very much doubt you'd have any problems at all. So yes, a good question. And what I do want to do is consult our gestor, our accountant, about how it's perceived when it comes to your tax declaration, which is really where the key to the answer is. So I'll have to ask him about ours, to be honest. I just send it all to him, and our accountant comes up with a figure what we have to pay. So I don't actually know how that is perceived. Is it work income? Good question, and I will come back to you on that. But that's I don't think it'd be a problem, but I do need to consult the accountant, I think, see how he declares it. Here we have tengo calor. I think calor refers to weather rather than explaining how hot you are for something. Someone very good explanation, Jen, there. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well. Enjoyed the Padron edition. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, we did a Padron edition, and with Scats we were on. Don't forget that Scats is live. We're on, not on this week, on the following week at 10 a.m. Okay, so that's our visas out and our renewals. Now we've got one more thing to say in our residency and visa appointments, with big news with a digital nomad visa. All right, I'm going to do a whole video on this. I'm not going to give too much away, but we actually applied for an NLV in Spain and it got approved. I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to tell you in a minute. We got an NLV in Spain, and it's impossible, isn't it? Well, there is a catch. You can't get a first NLV in Spain. It's impossible. But we did manage to switch a digital nomad onto an NLV without them going back to the UK, and we did it with the subdelegation of the government here in Spain. There's no exact Pacific law which relates to this, so you're sort of going in blind when you do the application, but we have actually done it now. So whether I want to do it again, I'm not too sure, but and that meant that the person got their first time NLV in Spain, but off the back of a digital nomad. They'd been here for a year, basically couldn't continue with the activity that qualified them for the digital nomad visa, did qualify for an NLV, didn't want to go back to the UK, and we had a go, and we got it approved. There you go. Took 9 months, but it got it over the line. I will do a full case study and video on that as soon as possible, maybe in September. So keep an eye on this space, but that is very, very interesting news. Okay, then. So we've been here for 14 minutes now, haven't we? So here we go. Let me go to the next section today, which is okay, a question which comes up frequently, and I was discussing with Jane, and funnily enough, I got an email today as well asking the question, so I thought we'd answer it. And it was about registering with the doctor if you have private healthcare. And sometimes there seems to be a bit of confusion. And Jane said, could you explain this on the channel between what is private healthcare and what is the national healthcare here in Spain, or as you would know it in the UK, they call it the National Health Service. When you're the NHS, here we always call it the Social Security. In Spanish, we would say the Seguridad Social. They always say it's a social security, or because it heavily relates to your situation with the social security in Spain. So if you have private healthcare and you're paying for a private healthcare policy, you can't go and register at a state-run doctors, as somebody who's run by the Social Security. So you have private policies. You pay to go to a private hospital. If you are paying into the Social Security system here, either with maybe an S1, which means that your contributions are being paid by the UK, you're self-employed or you're employed, or there's other platforms that you could use, which I'm going to explain in a minute, then you can register at your local doctors, which is a government-run doctors, or as you would know it, the NHS. But if you're on private healthcare, you can't. You have to go to your private doctor. Okay, so you can't go to the state hospital and get treatment there in most circumstances. I know that every area is slightly different, but private and the state-run system is completely different. So if you need to get on the state-run system and you want to get on the state system and you don't qualify, for example, if you, let me give you some examples. So you're on an NLV, for example, and you've been here for more than 12 months, you can choose and opt to pay into something called the Convenio Especial after 12 months. But this normally means that you have to do your renewal first, have your second year's healthcare, because you can only do it at the point that you've been here for a year, and by that point you would have started your renewal already. And then you have the sort of the toss up between, it could take a couple of months to get the Convenio Especial in place, but then you can't cancel your healthcare policy straight away, and you have to give them early cancellation notice as well. So the timing can be tricky, and the likelihood is if you do swap onto that system, which qualifies for renewals, by the way, you're going to have an overlap where you're paying both the state-run system and the private healthcare at the same time for a few months. That's to guarantee that there's never a break in the healthcare. For other people, maybe you're on an EU platform, so in EU and an EU family member, for example, and you came in on the back of savings and a healthcare policy because you're not working here in Spain. You're just living off of maybe a bit of passive income. You've got your 5-year residency and you've got private healthcare. Well, the only way you can enter the state system is by, again, voluntary paying into the Convenio Especial, getting a job, or going self-employed. Okay, but the two don't mix. If you've got private healthcare, not paying into the Social Security in Spain, and nobody's paying for you, like an S1, for example, which is an S1 is the orange document certificate that state retirees get from the UK, which is still a convenio that Spain has in place where the UK will pay for their state retirees' healthcare here in Spain. We often use the S1 for the NLVs. I hope that's cleared that up a little bit, because it was a lot of questions that we get regarding that. But just remember, private and state is completely separate. Okay, then, guys, let's move. YouTube. Okay, so, and we're plowing ahead today because I need to get out of the office a bit early. Now, let me tell you about what I did today. Something else I did today, because we've been rushing about slightly, is the here we go. I'm going to give you a full rundown of today's events with the old fuse blowing up at our house. I'm going to show you some photos as well, just to give you a timeline of what actually happened. And I'm quite impressed with it, to be honest with you. But also, what happened was we found a car valet company here in Alarinde de la Torre, which I can literally see the industrial site from where I'm sat now. But they do a pickup, so they come pick up your car, take it off, clean it, and then bring it back. And so I thought it was a good idea because it's busy time. We've got family coming last 2 weeks, a lot of people coming to visit, and I wanted the car nice for tomorrow when I go and pick up my parents from the airport. And Lara said, it's okay, I phoned them, they'll come and get it from the office at 9:30. So the guy turned up at 10:30, actually, a bit later, gave him the key, went with the car, and I haven't seen it since. And then I just remembered just before jumping on the line. So I sent Lara a message and went, I might have made a mistake here, but I've given the guy turned up, did say it was from the company. I didn't take any ID. And I've given the car and I haven't seen it since. And it was supposed to drop it up at 1:30. So, yeah, an update on that story coming soon. But anyway, I'm waffling on again. Sorry, guys. Do have a waffle now and then. YouTube. What have we got going on with YouTube? Okay, then. So let's get stuck straight into the comments, shall we, from YouTube? Don't forget that we have now got our Walking Football podcast, which is really seems to be going off. It's getting a lot of views at the moment. I'm not going to go too much into it now because you can read all about it on the article on our website, and you can also watch the podcast, which was live yesterday, premiered yesterday at 6:00 with Mark Kavanagh, one of the directors of Walking Football Spain, and how we're involved in the World Nations Cup, or World Nations Tournament, which is going to be in October. So many teams come from around the world to compete. It's a huge tournament. So, YouTube comments. We have Brexit TIE Renewal 2025 update. Brief Transit says, new subscriber. Many thanks for the very clear information. That's great. Thanks for jumping on board. My name's not Michael Kane. You need to have a word with this is a very important comment. This, if you are renewing your Brexit TIE card, you need to have a word with the various people that are charging to do renewals here in the Alicante province. Even though we were given green certificate holders prior to Brexit, they are trying to insist we had to use an EX17. I told them this is not so and have done our renewals ourselves using the EX23. People are getting very bad advice. Now, this is very true. And unfortunately, I wanted to show you something here on the government website live, but currently their security certificate is down, so I can't even get onto it. But if you are doing your own renewal, obviously we can help you. I can't go onto the government website. When you go to book the appointment for the renewal, okay, it actually states on that booking that you have to use an EX23. So if you are booking your own appointment, make sure you actually screenshot that and take it with you to the appointment if you get any sort of kickback. But you shouldn't use an EX17 for your renewal if you are a Brexit or withdrawal agreement beneficiary. Celebrating 50 weekly updates. Oh, wow, this is an old one. We had a comment. Yeah. Hi, Chris. Thanks for doing these vlogs. Do you think that EPREM will increase next time as it hasn't for a few years? Also, do they announce any increase? Thanks for any info. Cheers, Emma. Yes, they normally announce the increase at the end of the year, unless they have an extraordinary session, should we say, in government and decide to increase it halfway through the year. I believe that next year it will increase slightly because it hasn't increased, as you say, for a few years. Will that increase be a lot? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a much, but I would definitely put money on that next year we're going to have a small increase in EPREM. For those of you who don't know what EPREM is, actually I'll put a link below for you to read. We've got a great article on our website, but EPREM is basically the system that the government use to calculate various payments they need to make on a state level, but immigration also use it to calculate how much money you need for various visas. One of those visas being the non-lucrative visa. So that is what EPREM is. So that's why it's important if it goes up or not. But there is an article below. I'll put it in there after the show. On our 2025 updates, Brits with green residency cards many years were never obliged to change to a TIE. No, you're absolutely true. And you're still not, according to the law. But I don't understand why. So now it's always been a good idea to change to a TIE, contrary to in my opinion, it's a good idea and always has been to change to a TIE card because eventually they were always going to phase out the green certificates. All right, so why not just get in there and change it? And they were always going to bring in EES. They were always going to bring in ETIAS. They were always going to bring in, so why would you hang on to that flimsy green? I know it was your European right to have it, but why would you hang on to that green piece of paper when you can just, eventually it was fall to bits probably. Anyway, they're a bit naff, the EU cards. So yeah, but you're absolutely right. Never obliged to change, but now you're going to be forced to if you want to travel, because it isn't proof of it's not valid proof to travel, albeit it still remains. If you look at the government website, the UK government website update, the last one says it still is proof of your right as a withdrawal agreement beneficiary. But they shouldn't even put that on there. They should say, look guys, it's now time to change if you haven't. Another reason why you should, and I'm ranting on a bit now, is because in theory at 5 years you have to swap that card for a permanent one anyway. So if somebody had a permanent one already, then they wouldn't need to change it, because once you've got the permanent EU, you don't have to update it ever unless it falls to bits. But if you only had a temporary one, you would have been under the period of updating it now anyway. So yeah, but anybody still got a green card, wherever you've been, get it changed. Thank you for another great update, Chris. I was in Tortosa yesterday and some anxious people with no idea what's going on. I hope that's helped you guys up there in Tortosa. I know Tortosa, there close to the Ebro. I've been there a couple of times. Lovely place to visit up there. I think, let me know if I'm wrong, Andrew, Tortosa is still in the Tarragona province. Lovely province. Which police stations are doing renewals? Is it Guardia Civil or certain registered police stations? That's from Paul. It is the National Police which do all the renewals. Now, sometimes people they call them comisarias, and there's also the extranjeria. Extranjeria, which most of the time refers to the actual subdelegation of the government which approves the renewals, and the comisaria are the people who are in charge of actually giving you the card. Okay, but in the case of a Brexit, that's in the case of visas, but in the case of Brexit, you can go straight to the comisaria and they will do your renewal there as per my video. Okay, dokie, some chats going on here, so have a look at the chat before I carry on. Here we go. Interesting about NRV and earnings. We're approaching the point soon. Yes, yeah. I'm going to ask Antonio that question: how the buy me a coffee is declared on your tax income, because it not declared as work earnings because it's a donation. So let's see. Kev, how you doing? I actually made a live. The last of the visitors went home last night. Well, I'm just about to ramp up, Kev. So I'm going to ramp up and strap in for our visitors coming, and my daughter's birthday party on Saturday. We said, we're going to keep it low key this year. We pay just for 35. But it's such a great date that she has her birthday. It always seems to turn into a bit of a party as well for the adults. And Kev says, been here since the beginning of June. I thought it was July. Let that be a warning to anyone moving to Spain if you think the visa is hassle-free. Yeah. And Robert says, we've been here exactly 1 year on Monday. Our new life in Spain has been amazing. Thanks to you and your team. I never want to go back to the UK. Our life is here. And you won't have to. We've got your renewal in and ready and being processed. It might take a while to come out, but it's already in. And congratulations. I hope you're going to be celebrating on your year. I can't believe it's a year. I can remember talking to you, Robbo, like way before you came, so, and that doesn't seem 5 minutes ago, does it? So great stuff. And some conversations going on here. Collect 1 year temporary residency on the 5th of September from Jen will commence from the 1st to the 5th, 25. When is the earliest I can book an appointment for the next renewal period? Is that for, Jen, is that for an NLV? So we'll collect first year residence, year temp residency on the 5th of September. Will commence from the 1st of February 2025. When is the earliest I can book an appointment for the next renewal? So if you're on an NLV and it starts on the 1st of February 2025 and it would expire on the 1st of February 27, then you can start the renewal process 2 months before, submit your documents, get your approval, and then go for your appointment to get your TIE card. Let me know if I'm on the right track there, Jen. Stu, how many clients have you helped who have you now how many clients have you helped who have now been here a year? Well, that's a good question. I can tell you that we are actually coming up to nearly, this is including couples. So what I mean is actually real-time visas approved. We are approaching 700, believe it or not. We were going to do a 500 show, but it was the week that I broke my arm, and I'd already gone past the 500. I said we're definitely going to do a 500 show. Then that went out the window because of my arm, and never got back onto it. But we are approaching nearly, proud to say, 700 approvals since the 1st of January 2020. So yeah, it's been a good ride. But you're right, I should shout more from the rafters how many we've got. And Jen says NLV. Yeah, so with the NLV renewals, you have obviously your expiry date on your TIE card, and you can actually submit your documents 2 months before, and you have up to 3 months afterwards. But we strongly advise that you do it as soon as possible before basically the expiry, due to the amount of time that it's taking for stuff to come out. And Jen says her first year's temporary residency finishes at the end of January 2026. Okay, then. So if your first year temporary residency ends at the end of January 2026, then January, let's call it December, November. So it'll be whatever date is 2 months before, exactly in November this year. Patrick, thanks for the comments. Patrick, I saw that you liked some of our shorts. Checking in a bit late, no worries about that. 700 show, then yes, we need to have a 700 show. That's what we need to do. Let's have a 700 show. We've got 24 people on. Let's get some more comments on the go. There you go, Patrick, you're there as well. David Tumner says, hi, Chris. Will my Spanish bank account freeze if my TIE card has expired? We have had this problem. This is a problem with the banks. The banks don't understand the process of renewing a TIE card, and they have been freezing not the whole account, but certain elements of bank accounts until people produce a renewed TIE card. And it is virtually impossible if you're an NLV to actually get the card in sequence, because when you submit your renewal, they take up to 3 months to approve it, which means that during that period, your card actually expires. You've only got the proof that you've submitted your application. The bank said, well, give me the new residency, or so I'm waiting for it to come through, get your approval, then the appointment, then the new TIE card. What we've been doing is basically just sending letters to banks of our clients explaining the situation, who people have had trouble. That it's a bank prerogative. To be honest, it seems that some banks can just do what they like and no problem, yeah, with the documents we give them, that's okay, we can see it's in process. And other banks have come back and said, oh well, it's internal policy, from this point onwards you can access your funds but you can't do transfers, for example. So yeah, it is a problem. Limited accessibility or limited functions with bank accounts when your residency expires, but then more and more Spain want to see the funds in Spain to renew your NLV. So it's it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? And there you go, Patrick, you're up again. Thanks for your comments. And who else have we got? Yogi. I just wanted to give Yogi a shout out for supporting the channel. He's been on my shorts there, supporting us, and that was a short which was promoting walking football. Check it out. I'm not going to go on too much about it, but I was really happy with the outcome of that podcast. Then we've got Yogi again, and walking football there. Patrick said, yeah, sounds good. Any chance they invented sitting football? No. It is good, walking football, I can tell you. Here we go. So this was great. So this is from ASIS 8010. I'm from Pakistan. My wife and son have a visa for a year. So they're talking about 3-5 visas. We plan to travel after 4 months. My question is, can we travel after 4 months? Are we having any trouble getting an NIE? I think you mean TIE card. And thanks for putting that in Spanish as well. That's great. It's great to see people having a go at Spanish as well. Now, the big news on the 365 visas. I am going to do a full video and a full update on this, on where we are now. But we have had our first 365 visas registered, and the big question was, were they going to issue the residency cards from the start of the visa and give you a year from there, or were they going to issue it like they did before when it was a 90-day visa from the date on the entry stamp. Well, I can tell you now, so far with us, we've been doing the 365 visas. For those of you who don't know what a 365 visa is, after the 20th of May, 2025, there was a change in the law, and before the 20th of May, visas, NLVs, used to be issued for 90 days, which means that you had 90 days to get into Spain. You had to have an entry stamp before the 90 days expired, and you would be given a year's residency from that stamp. It was a multi-entry visa, so if you came in and left multiple times during that 90-day period and you came in just before the end of that visa, for example, then they would take the last entry date that you entered before the expiry of the visa and give you a year from there. Hence why we've got a few couples who have different start dates to their residency, because we've had couples, one's come over and the other member of the family has gone back to pick up something, come back in maybe, and they've got a different entry date, so they have different start dates on their residency. With the three now, after the 20th of May, they started to issue visas with a 365-day validity rather than a 90-day validity, which meant were people going to get a year from the start of the visa like it is with other visas rather than from the entry date. Well, I can tell you the ones we've done so far, they've been awarding the entry date. Okay, so we had a client who had a visa which started in July. They came in August and they gave them the year from August. We haven't done anybody yet who's got two entry dates. We're still waiting for a lot of information to come back from the consulates and the subdelegation of the government, where we've placed a lot of questions with them. But I can tell you the ones we've done so far have been given a year from the entry stamp. So there you go. It's that's an exclusive, just so you know. There you go. For 25 people who are watching, that's an exclusive. So just to clarify, I'm a resident since 2018. Now that I am about to renew my 5-year temporary TIE and filling out the X23, which option should I choose on the 7.2? Oh, I don't know. I haven't got the X23 here. I'll have a look. Off the top of my head, I don't know. And I'm going to give you the honest truth is, the person who would know, who does all the X23s, is Jane. I only filled out one form. I've only filled out one form in the last 4 years, I think, and I managed to mess that up. So I'm not allowed to do forms anymore. We have a fantastic team that do the forms. On the X23, on the new one, let me see if I can find the new. If I tell you what, I'll dig one out for you and I'll have a look. Now, why not? Let's do it live. Why not? Here we go. 7. I don't think there is a 7.2 on the new one. Might have to come back to that question. Because I didn't think it went up to 7.2 on the X23, the options on the back. So now you've got me intrigued. Have we got an X23 here somewhere? I'm sure I have. Hang on a minute. Now, where am I? Bear with me. I'm going to get one. Yeah, we've got one. We've got one here. It's okay. Upstick shorts. Check them out. Not that I mean to Brandon. All right, upsticks. I think you might mean the 790. Here we go. I've got a renewal file here. This is one that I'm going to tomorrow. So we've got the EX23. No, it only goes up to 4.2. And it should 4.1, tipo de documento, it should be renovación de tarjeta. So you just tick the box which says renovación de tarjeta. But I think you mean the 790, which is what I've got here, which is the €12 tax that you have to pay. And you have to tick the box which says certificado de registro de residente comunitario o tarjeta de residencia de la familia de ciudadano de la Unión. Okay, but that has actually changed. So these taxes were paid on the 14th of July before they updated the 790. And it actually states on the new 790 now that it's Brexit. Okay, so look for, on the 790, look for the box which states Brexit. And I'm not too sure where 7.2 came from. But anyway, ask me on the YouTube channel. I will answer it next week. Well, what else have we got? Okay, then. So we're coming to the end of the YouTube section, and let's get back into the comments. Jen said I better get on it then, even though I've not collected my first tier. Yes, get on it. Get on it now. Comes around quick. So we won here, and we would have never done it without Upstick's help. Cheers, guys. Yeah, no, we're it's nice. You know, I got a lovely email today. Well, I got 3 lovely emails today from people who received their visas, and I can tell you it's different. It just makes you great day. You know, it makes it, sometimes it can be stressful sat this side of the computer, I can tell you. And when you see them visas finally drop in, especially if it's been a visa from, we had one today where the consulate came back with all sorts of complicated financial questions, and we spent a whole day putting together a letter explaining the validity of documentation and how it doesn't just fall into their platform of, I want 12-month statements stamped by the bank, because some people just can't provide that. So we have to go deep into, you know, verifications of where you can verify online documents and stuff like that. And then when you see those kind of things come out, you think, yes, you know, we always give it a yes. You'd always celebrate the wins. So my mate Scats, he's got a great show coming up to you. Spanish Dream Home Made Easy, 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And don't forget that I will be back on at 10 o'clock on Saturday the 30th. So check that video out as well. And Neil and Sue, who I didn't forget about this week, I think you're on the chat as well. 86,000 rockets in Elche. Check out. I put the link in the bio below for their channel. Get Me to Spain. Our clients came on, currently gone through the renewal process, gone through the first year, enjoying their years 2 and 3. They've got a YouTube channel, getting out and about. I strongly suggest that if you are moving to the Alicante area or even just Spain, check that channel out, because it'll just show you what your life can be like when you reside here in Spain. And the last thing to ask you with the YouTube is, look, we are going up. This is great. As you can see, this was, if for those of you who watch this regularly, this was at 50%, 50-50 only a month ago. But we only have 54% of people who watch the channel are subscribed. 45% of people aren't. It's free. So if you're watching this for the first time, please hit the subscribe bell, notifications, and it will help the channel. And we're that close to getting 5,000 subs. We're only 130 away now, and we're thinking of doing a live 5,000 subs show. So that's if we get to around 4,980, I think we're just going to go live until we actually hit the 5,000. Right, and what's next? If I press the button properly. Some very, very interesting news item for you today, and we're going to get this done quickly. So I've been waffling on. I've been supposed to be doing this quickly today, and it turns out we're at 40 minutes. Right, this is something I wanted to show you, and the reason I wanted to show you this was because it actually hit home with me, because this has happened to me. TUI tore my passport and then said it was too damaged to fly. This is the story. Check out the link below. That a dad claims his family were forced to go on their 4,000 TUI holiday without him to a passport technicality. Jimmy was excited to fly with his girlfriend Zoe, 35, 3 kids, extended, blah blah blah. Read the article below. I'm not going to go through it all, but I'm going to explain exactly what happened to him, and because it's very important, because this happened to me. It happened to me. The exactly same story happened to me. So when you go and through passport control and it's a bit hectic and you're leaving and you send your bags off, they give you a sticker. Okay. And what happened to us was, on my daughter's passport, exactly the same as happened to this poor chap here, poor Jimmy. Okay. Is they stuck the sticker on the passport details page where the photo is and everything like that. And then we went to the gate, okay, to get on a flight. Luckily, the flight was to Ibiza, so it was inside of Spain. Okay, so it wasn't that much of a problem. And we had the TIE cards on us as well. But they then got the passport open, right? Looked at the passport to get onto the plane to verify who you are when we've got the boarding passes, ripped the sticker off and ripped the details off. And went, oh, we can't let you fly now because you can't see the name on the passport. So I've just watched you rip that off, and now you're telling us we can't fly. Now, at that point, to be honest with you, I stood my ground, and know a little bit of airport things. So I stood my ground, protested. They were taking people on the bus. They sent the bus off without us. Okay, can I say they sent it off without us? Like we weren't getting on that flight. We stood our ground and we had the TIE cards on us, and eventually we were allowed to fly. We had a bag in the hold, which I think might have been part of the decision because they would have to unloaded the whole plane. But I was like, if I don't get on that plane, I'm going straight to the police to make a denuncia. I saw you rip that off. You're destroying my personal property. The problem is they said, well, how are you going to get back? I said, I'll worry about that when I'm there. Don't worry about it. So we got on, but be careful when you go to the airport, make sure they put the sticker on the outside of your passport, on the outside or on the contact page or something that doesn't matter, but not on any of the inside pages, maybe on the contact page, but or on the outside, or stick it somewhere else. It doesn't have to go on your passport. It's only a convenience thing. But exactly the same happened to me. What happened then was we got to Ibiza, and it was a winter Ibiza trip. I remember I mentioned that in my last live. And we went straight to the police and we said, look, this has happened. What do? We want to tell you now. We don't want problems on the way back, you know, because we'll end up on a ferry or rent a car or something. And the police said, don't worry about it at all. Your residence in Spain. But the main thing he said is, you see the code at the bottom of the passport, that bit, he says all the lines and the numbers at the bottom, that hasn't been touched. So he said the fact the name's been ripped off isn't a problem, but the code hasn't been touched. He said if that had been touched, it would be a problem. That would invalidate the passport. Turns out we left, didn't have a problem at all. We explained on the gate when we left, this has happened. Sure, yeah, just get on the plane, go. But then when we got back to the UK, evidently then we had to get new passports. That's a good £80, isn't it? So I tried to claim that back off the company and they just didn't care. So yeah, there you go. Be careful with that. And just go back to the comments, what we got going on. 5,000 subs. Their beers are on you then. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to do a show on how much you actually earn on YouTube. So they get paid the other day, 70 odd euros. I will create 130 accounts and sub them all. Do it. Cheers, Kev. And Kev said 4.7 tons of explosive went off in Ouchie. My ears are still ringing. Yeah, I think that's the video that we've got here from Get Me to Spain. So yeah, was it from Ouchie? I don't know. Check it out, guys. Anyway, yeah, they did an awful lot. We had the Malaga ones as well to start the fair as well, which was not so long ago. Right, we've still got 26 people on, and we are now going to move on to our last section. Quickly, and this is where we're getting to the electric section here, and this is what happened today. I put this together quickly today from photos. And anyway, this is my timeline. Check this timeline out. All right, so today, here we go. Oh, it's bad when you can't read your own notes, isn't it? Should have used ChatGPT. Anyway, this is what happened today. So all of you have got a what they call contador, so a meter for your electric. Will have something like this, which I believe is the fuse, apparently, that is before the meter, but what I'm responsible for paying, which I always thought it was an electric company that were responsible for those fuses. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You have to find a quick solution. Ours completely, I don't know if you can see that, ours completely burnt out today. I thought it was just electric sometimes gets overloaded, goes off. You have to go down, press a little red button, it comes back on again. But no, it was completely destroyed. The fuse, due to bad maintenance, which I thought was the electric company's job anyway, it completely burnt out, but it did its job, didn't it? You can see there that the whole casing was burnt and the fuse inside was absolutely cream crackered, for want of a technical term. So we then had the technicians out, but I have to say this is the timeline of how things happen. There you can see where it's placed there underneath the meter and the fuse which actually burnt out. So that's, but I'm sure that's coming from the street through the fuse to the meter. So surely anything outside of the meter is a responsibility of the electric company, which they said it wasn't today. But first of all, Laura calls me at 9:30. This has happened. We've got no electric. I said, go downstairs and check out what's going on with the meter. It's normally just a little button you press. No, definitely came down, sent me a photo, said, it looks to me like it's burnt out. But okay, all right then. So anyway, we'll call the number for Endesa the incident number and see what happens. So we called the incident number. That was at 1 minute past 10, according to my phone. And you have to go. Now, I don't know, anybody doesn't speak Spanish. And for even Spanish speakers, this is difficult because of the quality of the calls. So you get palmed off onto different call centers. So first of all, you get like this qualification call, which I got a qualification call, and they were like, okay, all right, this was definitely someone based in Spain, I think, at this point. And they said, right, we've qualified that the first thing we need to do before we can raise an incident is we need to check that you're up to date with your bills and that you've paid. But to do that, I need to send you through to the bills department. I'm like, but I can guarantee I am. And surely it should show you on your system that I've paid my bills. No, we've got to pass you on to another department. Pass me on to another department. Well, that department cut me off. Okay, back again. Start phoning again. Okay, hi, I've just phoned you. Can you just... So you go through the rigmarole. I can tell you now, if you've got an NIE number, it's best to use your contract number to get actually to speak to somebody because it starts with an automated system. This is Endesa, by the way. Let me know your experiences, guys, with other companies if you got them. Eventually get through to the same person. They then pass me on to the person who verified that we didn't owe any money, pass me back to a different person, but the same department from before, and then said, we're going to give you the number of your local supplier to call so you can raise the incident with them. So I said, so what was the point of all of this if you're going to give me the number of a local supplier anyway? Is basically the people they subcontract to look after the area. Okay, the people who would then look after the equipment. She said, the lady on the phone, well, because that's just the way the system works. I said, have you got any numbers for me? Have you got anything that I can use to relate to my incident when I phone these people? No, we haven't. Okay, then. All right, so I put the phone down, and this was at 10:25 after 3 attempts. So 25 minutes isn't too bad. Okay, I picked up the phone, and I got through to the company who are in charge of sorting out they call them averias, so problems with electric in houses. They, after an automated service of putting my contract details in, not my NIE number, because it wouldn't accept my NIE number for some reason. Basically, I left it on hold because they said, what do you want to do next? And I just remembered somewhere that somebody said, just leave it to hold, and eventually it'll pass you on to somebody to talk. And it did. So suddenly somebody came on the phone. I was, oh, hello. Yes, I've got this problem, whatever. Okay, can I have your details? I'm going, oh, surely you must have. So I went through the rigmarole, given that person the details again. And they came back to me and said, oh, no, it's okay. You have an incident number already raised, and we've already told the technicians in your area there's a problem. I said, oh, well, fantastic. But what does that mean? So they said, I'm going to give you the incident number now. So they gave me the incident number. And I'm like, what do I do with this? And they're like, oh, it's just so you know you've got one. And I was like, okay, well, what significance is that? I know I've got one. Is there a number I can phone back to chase up what's going on? No, you have to go for the rigmarole that you did before. I'm like, okay, all right. So this number isn't, but surely you work for the people who have assigned this number. Yes. Can you tell me how long it's going to be before someone phones me? It'll be during the day. So I'm like, but is it really going to be during the day? Because if not, I've got to make some plans. No, it'll definitely be during the day. We just can't tell you when. So there's no point me phoning back, because if during the day it doesn't happen, you can only tell me it's going to be during the day. Okay, no problem. Bit confused. I put the phone down, made a backup plan, phoned a friend of mine who's an electrician, said, look, this has happened. How long do they know? He said, normally they're not too bad, But anyway, I'll run out, buy a fuse just in case. Anyway, 11:15, I get a call. Okay, so now we're an hour, getting close to 2 hours after the fuse is blown. So this isn't bad. And it was from a local company. And the local company said, okay, what's the problem? And I said, well, the problem is I think the fuse has gone. I've got some photos. They said, you did sign verbally the agreement that you would pay us €82 if it's your responsibility and not ours. I said, yeah, can you just go to the house and find out what's going on? Anyway, they were very, very nice. They had to send the location on WhatsApp. They turned up at the house at 11:53. Bearing in mind the very first time that this is August, so I'm impressed by now. I'm taking back everything I'm saying about the bad system and saying this is quite good. 11:53, they got there and they said, by the way, the fuse is your problem. you're going to have to pay us. If you want an invoice, it's 150 euros plus VAT. If you've got 80 euros cash in the house, we'll do it for 80 euros. Now, let me explain to you what the good and bad is of that. The good is that if you go for 80 euros, you get it cheap. They're obviously not declaring that. I don't know. I'm not an advocate for doing things off the books, but they told me it'd be cheaper if I gave them cash. I don't know if they're declaring that or not. That's their problem. Okay. But if you do it cash and you don't get an invoice, you can never claim back against your insurance. So you need to check whether your insurance will cover this, first of all. Then when someone comes out, okay, I'm not saying if your insurance won't cover it, pay them cash. But what I'm saying is that getting an invoice, all right, is actually a good idea, because you go to your insurance policy may go up, someone would argue. But doing it correctly, you might be able to get your money back. It'll just take a bit of time to do it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you what I did. But yeah, so it was just funny because they offered me a cash deal, and I thought, finally, that's come through the official channels. But by 12:09, they sent me a WhatsApp to say your family have got electric. There you go. So that was my electric story today. A couple of other things that we got going on I wanted to show you. Yeah, 7 years. So I've been celebrating this year 25 years in Spain, and it's exactly 7 years since I did this. As you can see, I'm there with a big paddle and making paella. I actually made paella for 350 people. This was in our local area. I've since moved. I lived there for 10 years, but I've still got some amazing friends in that area. And the chef who normally did the paella there, he works in a hotel and got called into work. So the town hall always lends for our local fiesta a pot to do the paella in. And my neighbor, who was the president at the time of the association, said, Chris, you knock out a decent paella. Do you want to come and cook the one in the fiesta? And I was like, there's no chance. I have no clue. The portions, the what's supposed to go in there, you know, in terms of, you know, I know how much saffron and portions I need for 25 people, but not for 350. Anyway, in the end, three of us, three neighbors, we got together and we pulled it off, and everybody loved it. It had the funnest day in the world, I have to say, and we got no complaints. And the paella, which I don't have a photo of the finished product, unfortunately, was amazing. But then the problem is, when you're making paella in a local fiesta, imagine it's a Saturday, you're making paella in a local fiesta, and the bar is right next to you, then literally every time you turn around, there's somebody giving you a beer. Every time. You don't have to drink those beers, obviously, but it's very hot by the paella. So after, 3 hours of making paella, serving paella, and a couple of beers, then the TV decided they wanted to talk to me, like an English guy, about making paella. We can imagine. I was like, no, I'm not going on TV talking about. That's just ridiculous. That's that's like Spaniard talking about doing Yorkshire puddings. But no, so this was me being interviewed. But by that time, as I say, I was very happy. And the interviewee said to me, that's right, isn't it? Interviewee said to me, so what did you put into the paella then? And I turned around and I looked back at it cringeworthily. I said, a lot of love. And she meant ingredients. But as I say, I was very happy at the time I got interviewed, and she looked at me a bit puzzled. A lot of love. I went, yeah, so much love. You can't make paella without love. So there you go. But it was funny. Right, what else have we got up for Robbo? Hope you're still on. Sunset in Santa Pola. On the way back from the airport, Robbo sent me these photos to share with you. There you go. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Amazing. Here's another one. You got a good camera on your phone there, Robbo. Mine are always a bit naff when I try and take these photos, to be honest with you. And here we go. Look at that. Sunset, which was very similar to my sunrise the other day in Santa Pola. So thanks for sending that across. There we go. And what else have we got to talk to you about? Water parks. Kev, you're talking about family coming over. Have you got any water parks in Bercia? Now, I went to a water park on Monday with my family, and I flatly refused to go to the Torremolinos water park. I won't go. It's horrible. It's too big, far too expensive. You have to pay to get in, pay for your locker, pay for your sunbed, pay for your 4 inches of grass, pay €10 if you want a refreshment, pay €20 if you want a naff pizza. And then if you want to actually get on any rides, you have to pay fast track. And I can guarantee a family of 4, it turns into a €400 date. And I'm not lying. €400 probably if you want to have a decent date and something to eat. You can take your own food in there. You don't have to get fast track, but basically that would just be like going to a picnic in a water park and not actually using any of the attractions. So refuse to go to Torremolinos. Maybe some people like it. Maybe the off season's better, but in summer, forget it. Never go in there. Don't like it. But I did find the one in Vélez, Malaga. Now, the one in Vélez, Malaga is smaller, but it still has some great rides. Check this out. So if you guys are in Malaga, it's called Aqua Vélez. There we go. It has the kamikaze, the red one. And I'll tell you what, they're scary enough. You know, they've got some great rides up there. And I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And they actually have a VIP area as well. So you can actually reserve your own space, your own table for 10 people there. And it's €100. But if you've got 10 of you come in, €10 a head, I would definitely say that would be a good idea to reserve that space. And it's what we've got here. They've got a jacuzzi area. There you go, which you can queue up and you get into. You've also got that's the children's area, and you can sit at the back there. If you've got small kids, you can also reserve those smaller VIP areas. The back top right, you can sit there for €60, and that does for 6 people. And if you don't want to reserve any area, there's plenty of shaders area. As you can see, it's really nice. It was for a family of 8 to get in without the VIP area. It was €196, and with the VIP area, it was €296. And you can just take all your own food. Mercadona is next door. The bar inside is ridiculously expensive anyway, naff food, but you're next door to Mercadona, and you can go out if you want to and come back in. So I would definitely recommend Aqua Vélez. I thought it was a fantastic place to go and visit. Okay then, right then, guys. Well, we're wrapped up. That's our hour. 20 people still watching. Thanks for jumping on. And I was planning on wearing my holiday shirt today, but I ended up in the office, so I didn't. But I might do next week. And just a final note, made with love, a lot of love, and 4 beers. Yeah, might have been more than 4 beers, but yeah, it definitely went down a storm. All right, guys, don't forget that we have got our podcasts on the channel. Check them out. We've got Mark there, who's our Walking Football director of Walking Football Spain. That's going to be our promotion all the way up to October, when I will be visiting, hopefully, Murcia and Alicante. And we've got some exciting news coming from that as well, because I was talking to the other Mark who said, would you consider getting some more people on the podcast from the tournament? I'm thinking, yes, this is going to be good. So exciting news coming up for that. Our weekly updates every week at 6 o'clock on Thursdays. If you want to buy me a coffee, it's over there, or go down below, book a call if you're interested in getting residency in Spain. And if you've got anything interesting that you want to get out there and tell anybody about your life in Spain that you think is going to help people move over, please drop it to YouTube at upsticks.es, and we'll get it on the channel and show everybody. And as long as it helps, the idea of this is to get information out there for people either moving who are currently living in Spain. Right. See you next week, guys.